Welcome to my channel, to everyone who's new here, and of course for those of you who are back again, great to have you here. Bitcoin is currently trading at $116,250. In this video we are going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and Solana. Things remain exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. So it's a bit funny because I thought that I was recording, so that's why I have done some drawings, but I realized I didn't push the button. So I have to do everything again. And what did we do 2 days ago? So 2 days ago, we have entered short trades, and we have also said where the price can go before we sell off. And we already were in some short trades. I'm now currently, in addition to my short trades, Ethereum, XRP, and Tau. I just opened them right now. So basically, I have deleted something on the chart because I thought we were recording. This arrow was on the chart. So this arrow meant as long as we don't break the $116,750 to the downside, we can still get up. That's possible. But since we broke it to the downside, I would say we have more downside potential. This bearish pennant, which we had right here, it broke to the upside. And yes, it was also a bit weird to me that we didn't even get up into our fair value gap to close it and then sell off. This was actually what I was thinking, that if we are a bit more bullish, then we get here and then sell off. Instead, we just got a small move and here into the target of the bearish pennant. So I can just take this one out of the chart because the chart looks so messy right now. So we can also say that we had an H pattern which broke to the downside, and with this push right here, we just filled a part of a small fair value gap. So basically the target is ongoing, but I have to adjust the target to this one right here. So we have also said that a long trade is possible at $117,900 up to the take profit area $119,350. It didn't work. So basically I can take this one out of the chart as well. Hope you saved your position with this push, because here was the breakout, here was the retest, here was the follow through. Whenever I see that and whenever I get into a long position and I see a follow through, I put my stop loss order to break even. So then I get stopped out with plus minus 0, because the follow through is actually, I can try to draw it again. So what we want to see for sustainable breakout is actually a candle close over it, and we always prefer several candle closes over the breakout point. Then we touch again the resistance. Before it was resistance, now it's actually support once we broke it to the upside. Then we can try a long trade with the stop loss here maybe, or here. And once we see a follow through, means a candle which closes over the breakout, then it should be in sustainable breakout. And yes, it doesn't have to work always. Like I said, often we have speculation here. So we speculate, and maybe we are right, maybe we are wrong, but with a high chance, this is going to work over the long run. In this case, it didn't work. Anyway, what I actually wanted to say is that we have a bullish chart pattern. So it looks good to me that the drop should be done soon. The only issue is the RSI a bit, because maybe this here is already the bullish divergence, where we have here a low and here a slightly lower low, or we can develop one. And what that means is, if we look into the RSI, that we should sell off in the RSI, form a higher low to the previous drop. But the higher low in the RSI to have a bullish divergence would mean a lower low in the chart. And since we had our rising wedge right here in orange, this one here, which we also broke to the downside already. Yeah, we are again within the rising wedge. This is kind of positive if we want to be bullish, but we can also lose it again anytime. Because what we just did is, we have our red trend line, we broke it to the downside, and we also broke the rising wedge to the downside in orange. We retested the rising wedge twice. Afterwards, we retested perfectly the red trend line and we filled most of the fair value gap. So if we zoom in, then you can see here is a price candle which went too fast. So there is a fair value gap. We closed most of it. So we have now more downside potential. I would still say we have a bullish chart pattern on the chart. I would still wait for the red trend line breaking to the upside again. Then I can try again a long trade. What I want to see is, similar to the previous setup, a breakout, a retest. Then it's long to me. And if I see a follow through, which goes over the top right here, then stop loss break even. And the first take profit, $119,350, $120,660. So as long as it's not going to happen, I'm not going to long Bitcoin. And yes, even if I'm short for other coins, I can still do some long trades just for some momentum. But I actually doubt that we are going to break to the upside. I'm also not ready to short Bitcoin. If we now look over the Bitcoin dominance, then we can say we had here a bear flag. We have also said that we can consolidate even more to fill some fair value gaps and from there break to the downside. We already broke to the downside, but we consolidated afterwards within a bigger chart pattern, so this bearish pennant. It is a bearish chart pattern, but we can also break it to the upside and invalidate it. So basically, once we also get here in the Bitcoin dominance over 59.91%, then the Bitcoin dominance increases. That would mean that Bitcoin is going to outperform the altcoins. And from here, we can get an altcoin rally. So far, I have to give you the other target, 59.27%. If they break to the downside, next target is going to be the 57% for the Bitcoin dominance. And that would mean that the altcoins can actually do nice gains. So what do I personally think? I think that since I have drew this one here as well on the chart, I want to see a consolidation a bit higher. That would get Bitcoin into a position where it maybe even don't drop to 110,000 US dollars. So if we go back to Bitcoin, and let me take out the RSI here, that we don't sell off to 110,300 US dollar, maybe somewhere in the middle, and from there see a nice push. Let's swap into the 4 hours chart. There is the issue that we still have space to the downside for the RSI. So you can see it also, the RSI can get into the oversold area on the 4 hour chart. We still have more space. So I would look carefully now for Bitcoin. I personally don't trade Bitcoin at the moment, like not that I want to actually focus on Bitcoin. Still, if I see the 116,880 US dollar breaking to the upside, then yes, I would be in for a small long trade. But otherwise, my focus is on the altcoins. So what about Ethereum? So for Ethereum, we have said, but for that we have to go into the 50 minutes chart back here, that this is here in consolidation, and if we break it to the downside, then we should drop to 4,375 US dollar, but this is not something which I would trade. It would just symbolize me, okay, we are close to a breakout, and here if we take it to the side, we actually broke it to the downside. There I looked carefully, like maybe we are going to sell off more. But when I woke up, I saw, okay, we invalidated it. So basically, small chart patterns are also not worth to trade it. Anyway, what we have said was 4,450 US dollar. If they break to the upside, and here was the breakout inclusively a retest, we should see the first fair value gap between 4,500 US dollar to 4,530 US dollar. So here we went into that area. I can take this one out of the chart. And we were very, very close. And we even touched the 4,578 US dollar. I can also take, let's keep it on the chart. Anyway, what I don't like is that we broke here the $4,378 to the downside, and we retested it. We also have a rising wedge, this one right here in orange, and we already broke it on the 50 minutes time frame to the downside. And that's why I took my short position for Ethereum. So we can see that for 3 hours, 4 hours even, we were here, got rejected, here another hour. So 5 hours in total, 5 candles. We didn't manage to break the 4,308 US dollar again to the upside. Now we broke a rising wedge to the downside on a smaller time frame. Yeah, it can get invalidated on smaller time frames. Smaller chart patterns tend to get invalidated. But still, the signs are there. I think we are going to sell off into the support 4,090 US dollar, where we also have a fair value gap. So basically 4,000, how much is it? 4,140 US dollar to 4,090 US dollar. It's going to get very interesting. If we also lose it, the next support is at 3,976 US dollar, and there we still have a target. A target of a rectangle, and rectangles are a new unique chart pattern because people are going to get into long positions right here and into short positions right here. People do their stop loss for short trades right here, and people do stop losses for long trades right here. And what is going to happen usually is we get it to the one side and afterwards into the other side. That's why rectangles are unique. Those targets are still ongoing. So basically, yes, we have also the chance to break down and get into 3,975 US dollar. I would say that the bearish scenario is going to get invalidated if we actually break here over the 4,450 US dollar again. Why is that price mark important? Because yes, it is resistance. And the second part is, even if we get up, it might be possible that we are just going to catch the fair value gap and from here sell off. But on the other side, if we break the 4,450 US dollar to the upside, we have done it once here in that market stage. And what I have seen so far is, if we try to break out and we fail the breakout, for example, or it wasn't impulsive enough, the second or third attempt is going to be the breakout where we're looking for. And I think once we break this to the upside, that we can get higher prices, and maybe this was then our low. So let's move on to XRP. I just opened a short trade for XRP. Why that? We have first of all said $3.14. If they break to the upside, then we should get higher prices. We didn't break it to the upside. So basically this scenario didn't even get activated. What we did instead is we broke our bear flag to the downside. The retest failed. But why did the retest fail? Fair value gap right here. We filled that fair value gap, and now if I just take here the resistance, we got rejected there. So it can be also a retest. We can also make it a bit lower if you like. Then we also have here several hour candles which can't get over the $3.08. So basically that's why I put my short position in, because yes, for sure we are back into the bear flag. This is usually a positive sign for a bullish reversal. But since here was a fair value gap, there is a chance high that we just fill that fair value gap by having here not the retest. It fails, we just get into the fair value gap, and from here sell off. If that is going to be the case, and I think it's going to be the case, then the target can even go down to $2.69. And yeah, it's also here. So the target of that bear flag is going to be $2.72, but I think maximum extension $2.67. There we have some support. If we also break it to the downside, yeah, then we have to think about lower prices, but I don't want to think about that scenario. It is still far away. So here are the key levels. If we break the $3.08 to the upside, then with a high chance $3.14 is going to get hit. There we have to look. If the $3.14 breaks to the upside, here is a green trend line. Then it's going to be long, because look how many fair value gaps we have. It even reaches prices up to $3.45. If we break the bear flag again to the downside, $3.03, then I would even increase my position size. So here is my short position right now. If we break it here to the downside, then I would increase my short position. Also, keep in mind, here's a fair value gap. So what can happen is we just get this price movement. That's why I would like to wait for the fair value gap to break to the downside. So $3.02, so it's similar to $3.03, but I want to see a nice push, then a small consolidation, then I would increase my position size for this bigger movement for XRP. So let's look over Solana. So we took our Solana short position right here. The thing is that Solana wasn't that bullish. Yeah, we can look over other coins. For example, we have set for Solana $198 to $201 is going to be the target once we break the $190 to the upside. We can look, I think, Avalanche. Avalanche went into the circle. Let's look for Dogecoin maybe. Dogecoin didn't have it. But for example, Kaspa also here went into the circle. Let's look for Tau. Sui maybe. Yeah, Sui we have said $3.81. So basically the coins went into a fair value gap area to close it. Solana didn't do it. So what do I think for Solana? Solana is a bit weaker than the other coins. Yeah, we had our 5 coins. The 5 coins which we shorted 3 days ago. If you now compare the coins which we have shorted already 3 days ago to the coins which we have shorted today, what you can see is, here's the sell-off, the first one. We formed a lower low. So our first trades were Solana, Sui. For Sui you can see the same. So here was the breakout. Here we went into a short trade, even though we got this price movement. Lower low. What did we also short? We shorted Kaspa. So here the same. I don't want to zoom in anymore. Here was the first sell-off, lower low. ONDO, here lower low. And I think it was HBAR. Was it HBAR? I'm not sure what the 5th coin was actually. Anyway, if we now look over Ethereum, then you can see that also here we got a lower low. XRP also slightly lower low. And where's the other one? Tau. Also almost lower low. Those coins, the 3 coins in the end, they have just formed a lower low. And what happens is, if we form lower lows, the market tends to go a bit more further to the downside. So there is nothing bullish at the moment for no coin. We form some bullish chart patterns. Like for example those falling wedges. But we have also seen in the past, it might be a bit messy right now, but we have seen in the past that a falling wedge can get developed, can break to the upside, but shouldn't have to go into the target. Take this one out of the chart now. Instead, what I would say is we have to form bullish divergences, means higher lows in the RSI. It would mean a lower low in the chart. And if we go into the higher time frame, then we can also see we have more space for Solana to the downside. And that can get us to 169 US dollar. This is still my preferred scenario. I have seen some comments. For example, someone said, yeah, why did you short? The market is bullish and it might be just a small drop before we get not an altcoin season, but an altcoin rally. And I think the same. I actually think the same. I think that we are going to see a drop, but that drop is not going to be, you have to define a small drop. It might be possible that you just say, okay, this is a small drop. But I would say we can actually work off the same length here, again to the downside. And that would get us to 169 US dollar. And from here, get this push. That's what I think right now. I still want to short the way down because this is still another 7.7% in its maximum extension. So with that said, we see each other in the Sui, Avalanche, HBAR and Dogecoin update.